Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get ready to rumble! The government lies to you to control you. Governments have been doing this for longer than most of us have been alive. Just look to history, you'll understand. Hitler, Stalin, Mao, to name a few. We're going to add Trudeau to that list in the history books. The lamestream media is cramming the case numbers down our throat. Cases don't mean anything when the people who are testing positive aren't even deadly ill. Some don't even know they are sick. Deaths and hospitalizations are the tell-all. Many questions need to be asked. How old were they at the time of death? What other ailments did they suffer from? What medications are they on? Did the hospitals do anything wrong? This is the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. Now, Bill Gates is funding this vaccine and many others. He is what they call a eugenist. He has also stated that he wants to lower the population, yet he pushes his amazing vaccines to save your life. What? Really? Does that make any sense? What are his credentials, you ask? Oh, he's a billionaire villain. I'm starting to feel like we need Batman. Eugenics is literally what Hitler subscribed to. Many Nazi scientists were brought to the U.S. after World War II. Operation Paperclip, and then look up the Georgia Guidestones. It's written in many languages. Things will make a bit more sense. These are only the tip of the iceberg. COVID is the Trojan horse for the one world socialist government. Anyone who has their eyes open can see that it's not a threat, that it's made out to be. The average age of those who died with COVID is over the average lifespan of Canadian citizens. 90% of the people who died of COVID had comorbidities. This means they died from something else, but had COVID at the time of death. 90% were in long-term care homes. Most people are dying of lockdown, or more people are dying of lockdown-related issues. Canceled surgeries, suicide, domestic abuse, crime, and the elderly are being left alone to die. They are dividing us because this older generation has all the knowledge that the government doesn't want the younger ones to know. The number of deaths in Canada this year is on pace to be the same as previous years. Common sense tells me with no influx of deaths, there was no real pandemic. People aren't even dying of old age anymore, or the flu, pneumonia. These ailments were cured this year. It's a miracle. Hospitals were empty during the middle of the pandemic. I drove to them. Ask your local nurses. Some hospitals actually laid people off. Let's talk about course testing. My children were told they couldn't come back to school until they had a negative COVID test. It has been well documented that the PCR test isn't even accurate. Our own health representatives admitted to a 50% positive threshold. In fact, the test outcome is easily controlled. Why do we trust this kind of test? We don't. Exactly. We don't. Many people are forced to get tested for work as well. There is a higher risk associated with someone sticking a swab up your nose to your brain than COVID itself. Especially if you're doing this 26 times a year or more, getting tested every 2 weeks. There was a lady who had her brain fluid leak out. Mistakes are made daily. doctors and nurses are human too. Now only how about the quarantine camps the government is building? They won't build affordable housing for their citizens, but they will build a cage for anyone who tests positive for one of the least deadliest viruses on the planet. Such good intentions they have. This government needs to be reined in. Woo! China has an ever-growing hold on our country and its resources. Trudeau is handing it over to them. Billions of dollars handed to many other foreign countries as well. While our people suffer, while Canadians suffer. Veterans are asking for more than Trudeau can give. The elderly population that helped build this country are forgotten and left alone. At my age, I'll be lucky if the Canada Pension Plan is still around when I'm of age to collect it. These crooks robbed us blind. He then paid off the CBC in the tune of $600 million for them to shout out his propaganda and cover up their crimes. Sound familiar? Sounds like Germany in 1930s, ladies and gentlemen. Not Canada. Not the one I grew up in. Most recently, documents that would hold Trudeau and his cronies accountable were shredded. Why aren't they held accountable for destroying evidence? Why are we putting up with such corruption? I thought Canadians were honest and brave. Woo! When will he be held accountable? There was obviously criminal activity if they destroyed it. When will he be locked up? Say it with me now. Lock him up! 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 A few weeks back, one of the officers was confused about what we were chanting. He thought we chanted defund the police. Absolutely not. We were chanting defund the CBC is what we were doing. But going forward, we were trying to focus on the positive. And I know most of you aren't happy with the police after what happened in Toronto at Adamson's Barbecue. Yeah. A lot of those officers weren't actually serving as duty, right? They were serving off-duty, basically security guards for the city, right? The brown coats, basically. Not every police officer made out for that call, right? So these officers were not serving the people that day. They were acting as Nazi browncoats paid by the Fourth Reich. But some officers choose not to answer that call. And those are the officers I commend. Those men and women who won't compromise their values for money. Rise up! Rise up! Now only if we can get them to arrest the real criminals like Justin Trudeau and his cronies Drew Dilkens, Dr. Ahmed, and Doug Ford. We don't have a problem with honest police officers. We have a problem with abuse of power. We have a problem with corruption. I'm sure you've all seen the mayor and his posse break the rules he just vowed to enforce. Maybe that was a stunt to hide his tie-breaking vote to outsource more good-paying jobs. Which one of his posse will get the private contract? Maybe you can write another Cat in the Hat poem for that one. Part of why we do this here today is to demonstrate the power that the people still have in this free country. The right to peaceful assembly. The right to be free. No new normal. No new normal. You're all beautiful. And now I want to end with clearing up all the confusion about why we are here. We aren't anti-mask. We are anti-corruption and pro-choice. And even more so, we are pro-freedom. Say it with me now. Freedom! 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 Thank you. You're all beautiful. And now I'll introduce our next speaker, Thomas Costiga.